Welcome to NAB Streaming Summit. My name is Dan Rayburn, conference chairman. Great to have you all here today. So for this fireside chat, appreciate Phil being here.
Of course.
From Paramount. I'm going to go into a little bit of background here. How many people have been in the industry more than 20 years? Okay. All right. So I'm going to throw out some names here where you're going to be like, wow, that's a blast from the past.
Uh-oh.
So Phil's an OG here. Okay, Phil was one of the co-founders of Liquid Audio. Now, for those that don't remember Liquid Audio, I'm going to throw out A2B Music, N2K, SonicNet, Rocktropolis. So back in the days...
Ayuma was there too.
Where?
Ayuma was the first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So back in the days, streaming started thanks to music. And Liquid Audio, A2B, some of these services, when Phil co-founded Liquid Audio, right? It's really the start of downloading music in DRM, right? That's the best way I would.
Yeah, we had to build our own. It wasn't even called DRM
own.
at the time. We just made it up.
Yeah.
I literally bought a book called Applied Cryptography and like, how do I build this thing? And we built it. That was the beauty of being in a startup.
That's the way it was back then. It was truly an art and science. So that's how much Phil knows about what's going on in the space, right? So in terms of just credibility and where he's been and what he's done. But Phil, appreciate you being here.
Of course.
I would say start off with giving people an idea of just what you're responsible for at Paramount Global. And also I'm going to make it really clear, just so you know, questions after you talk to Phil. Phil is not here to talk about anything you're reading about in the news, any speculation of any company in the market, whether it's his.
Don't look over there. It's not
the JV Sports streaming service, none of that, okay? So he's here to talk about what he can today, but just give them an idea of what you're responsible for right now.
Sure. So I've got the title of Chief Technology Officer, but as many of you may know, that can mean many different things. So it's a broad operational role. So it really is everything that drives the company from production, on set, technology that we're using to create our content, a media supply chain, which pulls it out of production, distributes it around the globe, feeds it into linear channels in our cable portfolio. CBS is one of our big brands, which we did the Super Bowl, which we can touch on if it makes sense. And then all of the information technology systems as well, which as we did the merger with Viacom and CBS 4 years ago, we converged all of that, which was a really interesting opportunity to take broadcast, streaming, and then IT systems or core technology systems and run it in a converged manner. And we were able to do that because our theme was internet technologies kind of work, which you had hit on before. Like when we did the math on replacing broadcast video in the 90s, like it'll never happen. We have to have multicast, and you and I were probably on committees, trying to engineer multicast use throughout the internet. But the reality is, over that time frame, it's scaled up. So we use core internet technologies for everything that we possibly can.
So, it says we're going to talk about AI here, which I appreciate you talking about AI because so few executives want to today, other than to say it's really cool and we're looking at it, which is not helpful at all. So let's talk about some of the places where you actually see the value of AI coming, even if it's not today or at scale, right? Where is it in the video ecosystem from glass to glass?
That's an hour talk.
Right, so, I know.
Seriously, and that's where I think people get a little confused about, what is this hype or is this reality? So I actually pull it back a little bit because I look at these technology trends through that lens always. Like, when is it going to impact an industry? When is it going to impact our company? How much hype versus reality is there in the market? And I've done that for blockchain. We did an NFT thing a couple years ago. That's clearly, doesn't have utility other than people that still believe in buying numbers and trading them, which is kind of like gold. It's fine. But this trend is one that I've been following my entire career. So I worked in a neural systems lab when I was studying electrical engineering, signal processing, because I was focused on encoding and understanding how the brain processes media, which was really the basis for neural nets. And I actually built a neural net in 1989, and it could do absolutely nothing for all the obvious reasons. We just didn't have enough data, we didn't have enough compute. But watching the progression over that time frame, and then now, currently, the big thing is looking at the level of investment. Like, this is very real. And when I look at other similar technology trends, I look back to the internet. And the reality is, 30 years ago, what Netscape launched. It was just 2 years before that, the first, Tim Berners-Lee did the first HTML browser, and then Andreessen did Mosaic, and then Netscape launched. And then a year after that, Ray and Dan and I were at a streaming media conference, and it exploded. But then it fell off, and that Web 1.0 is kind of where we're at right now. So all the companies you're out there seeing that are AI-based, 90% of them will be gone or won't be AI-based. But after there's that rationalization of the market, if you look out to a 10-year window, it's going to fundamentally change the way we operate compute systems, not just media, compute systems, similar to the way the internet changed everything. And
that's a good way to compare it to the Web 1.0. Yeah. I didn't think about that. So what is your wish list for AI? Right, in terms of, obviously, again, long conversation, there's a lot of things you could have, but what do you have at the top of the list that you really wanted to solve? What is it really doing?
Well, the way we look at it now is primarily through production, right? And that's the area where people get very concerned. Is this going to fundamentally change the way we create content? And I think the short answer is yes, it will. But it really is just another very interesting tool. And we're looking at it now in terms of application to our business, starting with what works today. The thing that really works today is text. So if you go and survey what your company does, and we look at the production process, obviously all the text-based functions we're looking at very closely. Script analysis. So we've got teams that are bringing in hundreds, if not thousands of scripts. They have to summarize those and then maybe modify those to see what's interesting. AI is a great application for that, to just take that work out. Now, AI is not writing a script. And we've done experiments with that, like how would it write the next episode of this show versus what we could do with our writing team. It's very boring, right? So I think you have to be very sensible about what it can create from scratch and then how to use it. But text-based we're doing now. Images from marketing. Marketing's a huge opportunity because our two big investments as a media company are content and marketing. And clearly marketing is based on derivative works, which AI is really good at. Take this image and turn it into a video, or take this video and cut it down to a section that's 30 seconds and has these characteristics. They're great applications of AI. So we're actively looking at that.
Let me give you an example that I think is Spotify, and love what they do on so many different levels, and what they're doing with preview images. In many cases, they're giving you a custom preview image based on what you've listened to or what. Can you get to that where we think about preview images for a movie or TV show we might want to watch that you can customize to the user based on their viewing preference? Like, can AI take us to that level over time?
It could. So I think that application where you're saying, I'm going to look at the metadata and present a slightly different navigation experience to you based on what I know about you. I mean, we're already doing that. So our applied machine learning group has been focused on recommendations, creating custom carousels for 7 years. Wow. So it's been there, a long time. Using that kind of, last phase of disruption in AI happened around 2017, when we could start talking to our phones and to Siri, and AI could start recognizing faces in either your Apple or your Google photo feeds. And we started building on that. And then obviously this disruption is even bigger.
So how personalized can the experience get? And let me give you I thought of this the other day, a real simple example. Watching one of your shows, okay, it's a series, it has 12 episodes. If I skip the preview in the first 2 episodes, it doesn't automatically skip it for me for the rest of the 9 or 10. Right? Can AI get to the point of where it saw how I interacted with the first 1 or 2 episodes and it changes how I watch the rest?
Yeah, that's not a great AI application.
No, okay, all right. Well, here's why
simple,
I thought.
Like behavior storage.
But the amount of bandwidth it saves you over millions and millions of users.
No, I get it, but what I'm jumping on is a lot of people, when they're just thinking about this, say, oh, now we're going to create custom episodes of shows for you. I don't believe in that. I actually think the communal viewing experience is valuable. I don't think that creating customized versions of shows, which I'm taking it to the next level, it's not what you said, is really going to be all that valuable. But I do think improving on navigation, making it more UI. Natural to flow through it, is a frustration point across all the services.
Agreed.
Particularly given, if you think about how much money's been invested in building these streaming services, to have these basic navigational issues, as a consumer, I can find it to be pretty frustrating.
You're unique in the sense that you've been doing live video for a long time.
Yeah.
Obviously, many of the other services have not been doing live. We know Netflix is only just now getting some live things here and there, but you've been doing 24/7 linear live for a long time. CBS All Access, for those that remember the brand back then.
Yep.
What is the impact, obviously, there to the workflow in terms of where you think AI could fit in from a live standpoint? Are there specific things tied to the live workflow that you see?
Well, the obvious thing is QC. So one thing we've
Okay.
done over the last 5 years that we've merged Showtime, CBS, all of the Viacom video channels is we were able to consolidate our core operations. So we've reduced the footprint. There was 7 regional operation centers around the globe down to 2. And so part of that is because we've moved to a cloud-based model where we can monitor remotely, but a big part was that we put a lot of automation and quality detection in there to escalate it up. So that's not as exciting, but it's very useful to do that. And the other thing that's helped us out is we moved all of our systems to IP-based workflows. So we're not 100% there yet, but now moving everything, even our broadcast, to an internet-based technology stack has really enabled us.
Will you get to
move very
100%
quickly.
over time?
We will.
You will.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you see VR tying into this at all? We tend to hear AI, ML, VR. Does it really tie into VR? Do you see? No, I don't either.
I don't think so. Look, I think VR is super interesting, but it's on a long timeline. And the reason there was so much interest and investment in that was not so people could go into virtual worlds. It was the big companies investing in the future, what's going to succeed the smartphone. And everyone's looking at this block of compute they hold in their hand with basic touchscreen technology that's now getting quite old, and saying what's next. And the obvious next thing would be Minority Report. You're up, doing hand gestures in the air. People have been trying that for over a decade, and I don't see a path to that right now in the near term. But look, Apple clearly solved a lot of the core problems of the experience. But I would say, so that's VR. It's going to be a while. But AR is really interesting because it's now showing up on 2D screens. Right? So if you look at what we did at the Super Bowl with Nickelodeon, we went in and replaced the sportscasters with SpongeBob and other characters. We had a lot of things going on in the stadium. That was all using augmented reality technology, but then just mapping it onto a 2D presentation layer. So I think that's going to continue to advance in interesting ways. And when you add that with AI and what AI can do to naturally put other scenes on top of it, obviously deep fakes, we can put different faces on a very natural way now. I think they're going to merge a little bit, and AR and AI will create new experiences. There's a lot of concerns of what that could mean, particularly in an election year, but I think that's going to be a merger that's going to be super interesting.
That's going to be my next question. Just as an industry, what has to be thought of in terms of deep fakes, right? And how do you know that this is actually verified to be a video that hasn't been edited or changed?
It's very hard. So there's a couple elements. So one is deep fake detection. Is there sufficient technology to go in and determine this was generated using an AI system or wasn't, generated just from a, capture of a live event? There's companies that are doing very good jobs at this, but it's, at 80% reliability, maybe 90 in some good cases. But we have to deploy that. So at CBS News, and BBC did this as well, we announced and have launched an initiative called CBS News Confirmed. And we actually are using AI deepfake detection technology coupled with a specialized journalistic team to go in and review all of our input media to identify the probability that this was AI generated or doctored. It's one thing we're trying to do to at least detect that, and then we can react to it based on that. But the big thing that I'm concerned about there is in this world was so easy to generate these images or videos even, the general population will stop trusting anything.
Yes.
So
haven't we already? Yeah,
and the flip side of that is if you're someone who's lying or someone who's caught doing something they shouldn't be doing on video, it's a fake. It's a fake. Don't believe what you see. And as a broader society, if we can't believe anything we see, we've got a real problem.
So do you see on the video side, as a video industry, I was thinking something like Dolby Vision. Dolby Vision is a standard, it's stamped, it's on there. Do we as an industry come up with something that is a standard that everybody trusts from a third-party company are you guys already working with someone who you think, like from a third party, will be that?
I think we have to try to do that.
Okay.
And we're talking with others about it. And Fox came out with an initiative, Melody, the CTO at Fox, came out with an initiative to validate things. I didn't hit on the irony of Fox putting validated content out there, but I think it's worthwhile for all of us to sort of go and figure out what we can do to develop trust. It's not going to be purely technical. It's going to require something beyond just technology.
So do you see
build
content
trust.
owners like yourselves and others working together for that?
I do.
I think that's good.
And I think the government has to be involved in that as well.
Well, that's bad, but I mean, if you guys do it on your own, like we could solve that.
But I think that we need some level of regulation on that front. But it's a tough one.
It's hard. It's hard. How do you use AI today, personally?
Me personally,
Yeah.
I used it about 5 minutes ago to take all of our Q&A and put it into ChatGPT and then ask about you and what we should talk about.
Okay.
So I do use it to consume a lot of material and then just get the summaries, like you said, with Feedly. And I talk to it. So I use the voice mode of ChatGPT almost every day. So if I'm in a car or somewhere else, I will just talk to it about topics I'm interested in. And to me, what I found with these conversational AIs is you don't treat it like search. You can't go in and ask it a question and get something interesting, for the most part. It gets really interesting when you have a session that you build up even over hours of time, and then start getting into, a creative output. So I use that sometimes when I'm writing speeches or thinking about new topics. But I think that day-to-day constant engagement is really the most interesting way to use it right now.
Is there anything source-wise you found on the internet tying AI into our industry that you're constantly reading or looking at? Or I haven't found anything that's really AI specific yet. It seems a lot of outlets are covering it as part of their coverage, but have you seen any really dedicated coverage yet as to what's taking place?
No, I haven't. No, I think it's and there's because the general media is covering this so extensively right now. It's hard to really get into the areas where this can have an impact in the near term for streaming. I think encoders are going to change dramatically.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, because they're all based on perception, right? And the way we built encoders, this was my first job as an audio signal processing person, was building encoders for audio. And it was all based on understanding psychophysics, how the brain processes media, and then coming up with algorithms to remove things you don't actually see or hear, and then putting statistics on top of that to make it more effective. But these systems look at the world in a multidimensional way that humans will never be able to do. So you kind of have to do a trust fall with them and say, take all this media, and then I'll have some humans tell you what they're seeing or not seeing, and they're going to generate an decoding algorithm that no human would have thought of, because they're not using a reductionist approach to generate what the encoder is. They're going to use a holistic approach to this, and I'm excited about that because I think we could see a dramatic breakthrough in terms of encoding quality over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and cost.
Yeah,
productivity and profitability.
Yeah,
you're obviously
big deal.
Responsible for that,
right?
At the company. Let's talk for a minute about hiring. Who are you looking to hire? Right, I'm always you're an executive in a spot where you get to make a lot of decisions, right? What are you looking for in terms of the people that you're hiring?
You used one term that I wanted to build on, situational awareness. Yeah. So everything you talked about, and understanding the industry, understanding where the trends are going, having that bigger picture, that's situational awareness. I'm a pilot, so that's a key term for me, because when pilots go wrong, they lose context for the big picture and they get stuck in looking at their instruments or what's happening in front of them. And I think I'm looking for people that have that bigger picture, even if they're going to go in and be a hardcore video engineer and work on our content delivery systems. They need to understand where all of this is going. So that's one big picture, even at a pure technical level. Obviously, the executives I'm looking for have that strategic context as well. But right now, we're going through the same thing you had described there, so we're not immune from the fact that the industry really over-rotated on the scale of investment in streaming, and I think it's moderating. But that's continuing to grow. So I think people focus on the fact that we went too far and it's going down, but it's still the growth part of our business. So I'm looking for people that can help us deploy those systems. I'm looking for people also that can understand how to optimize those systems, because we're on a path to profitability with streaming like every other major company. So people that can really understand, how do I do this as good or better, but understand the economics of what's going to drive that are really important. Because I think this hyper growth mindset where you just throw bodies at this and hope that you get to profitability is not working. You need to be smarter with your investment
I think that's
dollars.
been proven in the market.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. For anyone who happens to be writing or whatnot, in Q4, Paramount gained 4.1 million Paramount Plus subs. So they ended the year with 67.5 million. That comes from the earnings release. I didn't make up that number, right? So that is the official number. Their earnings will be coming up soon, so we'll obviously get an updated number. Any final thing you want to leave them with in terms of key point to take away? I'd just say in terms of AI, what to watch for in the near term.
Well, I would really look at what's going on with video and be a bit cautious about it. So if everyone hasn't seen that OpenAI released a model called Sora, it's really interesting. And the reason it's interesting, because I don't know actually how they did all of that yet, but I did last year, and when people were asking me what works, and I had a similar answer. Text works really well, focus on that. Images are getting there, and we need multimodal systems, which has happened. But at that point a year ago, I said video is going to be tough, because it's not a matter of just adding scale. You're going to have to come up with a new architecture to solve some of the coherence problems over time. Some of the other issues in terms of moving between scenes. I think that's probably a 3 year
3 years, okay.
plus window, but I was completely wrong. So when Sora came out, I went, oh my God. I thought this was going to take about 3 years, and they did it in less than a year.
Much faster. Yeah.
So when you look at the pace, and Sam Altman uses his 100x number, which is his version of Moore's Law, that really every year or so, these systems are going to go up 100x in terms of scale. And then we're going to get that sort of emergent capability coming out every year. I think that video is going to be fundamentally changed on the production side. And obviously we're looking at 100 different touch points on how we create and distribute content right now across the company. So really looking at everything, 100.
Wow.
Everything we do is going to be impacted to some extent by it.
That's an incredible number.
I feel like one of these hype guys, like, hey, buy some crypto. It's not that at all. Like, I've just been deep into it.
You wouldn't be here if you were a hype guy instead.
Yeah, it's just not. So I don't want to fall into that trap. But look, it's not all going to happen tomorrow. That's why I use the internet metaphor as well. It'll be a 5 to 10 year journey to get to mass adoption. But it is, if you're looking at it from a career perspective, getting expertise on this now and being conversant is going to be a real benefit.
Good to know. Well, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate everything. Don't get out of your seat for a minute. We're going to do something special here. So Phil and the team is nicely going to give out 10 free subscriptions to Paramount Plus for a whole year. So we were going to put these under chairs before you got in, but you guys came in here before we had them. So how many people, show of hands in the room, have a business card on them? God, none of people carry business cards. Guys, get business cards, okay? None of this digital crap. Get business cards. All right, so crap. All right, we're gonna do this a different way.
We are OG up here. Come on.
All right, you stay here.
Okay.
We're gonna do this. So Phil, you're gonna give me 2 numbers.
What am I doing? I can't hear.
Between 11 and 9.
11 and 9? There's only one number between 11 and 9, Dan.
One number between 1 and 11.
7.
Okay, and then one number between 1 and 9.
3.
All right.
7 and 3.
7. Pass that down to whoever's the 7th person. Just keep giving me 2 more.
I'm doing, okay. But how do we get to this side? Like, what's your reference point of your quadrant? Hey, oh, we're negative on this side? Oh, okay. Yeah. So we'll go back for 8 and 5. I wish I had one of those T-shirt guns.
I'll get it for you next year. All right, next one.
I don't know, 11 and 2. I'd like to go to the back of the room. There you go. You're welcome. How many more of these do I have to do?
You got 2 more.
2 and 8. Trying to spread the love over there. And let's go 6 and 6. because I don't have any more numbers in my head.
Side, same thing.
All right. We'll.
Hold on, we'll add the first row in. Well,
Uh-oh.
we'll pick someone from the first row.
Okay, 1 and 7. I won't look at you. I feel like I'm playing chess. 6 and 9.
Ninth person, okay.
Oh yeah, how about this standing? Can you just toss it out and see who catches it?
All right, pick the number out of all them things.
4 plus 2i. Engineers get that joke. Yeah, there you go. The gentleman in the blue shirt right there. Where's that? Let's see. So why don't we go in the back then, like, 10 and whatever that, 10 and 10? 10 and 10?
All right, I think we only have 9 rows, so. Whoever the 10th person is in 9 rows. One more.
And then just go up a row and over 4.
4. All right, that's all we have. Thank you very much.